guys, Cecil here once again. Hey, I'm actually coming to you from the dungeon today. I've started to organize and clean up a little bit in here. I've got a lot of crap picked off the floor. There's still a lot of organizing that needs to be done, but I'm getting the ball rolling on that. So I'm going to try and do some videos from here, and as well as in my my chair in the other room there. But anyways, on to the subject of the video today. And this is a subject I don't really talk about a lot, nor am I a huge fan of the genre. But that's sports games, and mainly football games. Now, I think for a lot of people, you know, they probably started out playing football games, especially the same way I did, at least if you're my age and you grew up with the NES. And that was with Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl. I mean, no other football game on the NES ever came close. You know, 10-yard fight. While it was an NES launch title, it wasn't very good. I mean, there was Play Action Football, there was John Elway's Football, and some other ones. But Tecmo had, you know, the 8-bit football game, the definitive game, the NFL license, the players' licenses, and everything, and it was just, nothing came close. It was pure arcade football-style action. And they sold a buttload of copies. And to this day, it's still looked on very fondly as one of the classic all-time football games. But over on the other side of the coin at the time, there was Sega. And obviously the Master System wasn't very, you know, successful in the U.S. You know, it had a football game like Walter Payton Football, but it wasn't very good. So when they came out with the 16-bit Genesis, you know, Sega put a really heavy emphasis on games that would appeal to a wider audience, older audience, and they basically did that. One really big way was through EA Sports and their Madden football games, and their own Sega Sports football games like the Joe Montana, you know, Sports Talk games. This is Joe Montana Sports Talk Football 2. You know, they did like Arnold Palmer golf, Tommy Lasorda baseball. You know, they got celebrity endorsements on a lot of their sports games, and this is how they attracted older gamers to the Genesis. And then they came up with their mascot Sonic, and to appeal to the younger, the brother and sisters and everything. So you had your sports games from EA and Sega for the older crowd, and for the younger crowd you had your Sonic, which was your mascot. And that's why the Genesis did as well as it did in the United States and North America back in the early 90s. So Sega really kind of kept going along. You know, the Genesis was a wild success, even though, you know, they really tripped up with the 32X. And they had a really good partnership with EA right up until about 1997, when they pretty much just said, we're done with the Saturn. And because it was a financial disaster in America, and, you know, I'm sure if you pay attention to gaming history, and you know why. And EA Sports, well, we're done. You know, you're pulling support on your system. We're never going to develop for another Sega system again. And they held true to their word, never developed a game for the Dreamcast when that came out. So, lacking EA and their Madden and sports franchises, well, Sega was like, okay, we can't rely on EA for football or sports games, so we're going to come up with our own. And they brought on Visual Concepts, who had done some other sports games in the mid-90s, including working on Madden 96 for the PlayStation, and that never came out, and that was a whole big fallout between EA and Visual Concepts. And they brought Visual Concepts on board, and they developed NFL 2K and NBA 2K. And they were huge hits for the Dreamcast and Sega. I mean, up until that time, I mean, when you saw those games on your Dreamcast in 1999, there was nothing like it. It was like watching a real football or basketball game on TV. Up until that point, you'd only really had the pseudo 3D with, like, you know, the N64, PlayStation, even Madden on the Saturn. Wasn't nearly. It was fun, but it wasn't really all that realistic looking. And the Dreamcast, for the first time, NFL and NBA 2K, like I said, were huge successes for Sega, and it really put, you know, 2K Sports and Visual Concepts on the map. And it kind of began this rivalry between EA and 2K Sports and Visual Concepts of, like, one-upsmanship. Who could come out with the better sports game every year? It was Madden versus NFL 2K. It was NBA Live versus NBA 2K14. NHL versus NHL 2K. You know, pretty much every major sport that was development, there was a rivalry. It's like a one-upsmanship in the early 2000s between both companies. And obviously, Visual Concepts didn't develop a whole lot more than a few years of sports titles on the Dreamcast, because it had kind of bowed out, and then Sega unfortunately dropped the Dreamcast, and they moved on to the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. And, you know, and the rivalry went on until about 2004, when Sega, needing money probably, they just sold off their sports franchise, the 2K Sports, to Rockstar, and more or less just come out, but they kept doing sports games even after Sega sold them off. and up until NFL 2K5. And 2K5 wasn't really 2K's football, while it was really good compared to Madden from as far as critics go, wasn't nearly selling as well up through 2000 ESPN NFL Football 2K4. It hadn't sold as well as the Madden games. So Rockstar, under running 2K Sports now, is saying, okay, we're gonna put out NFL 2K5 at $19.99, $30 cheaper than Madden. And EA took one look at that and like, holy cow, because Rockstar and 2K Sports, we want you to try our football game. We know you love your Madden game, but we want you to try 2K football with 2K5. And 2K5 was sold really, really great at $20. So for you spent your $50 on your Madden, but for an additional $20, you could get a football game that was getting great reviews. And EA took one look at this, and they're like, oh my God, they're coming out with $20. EA was gonna felt like they were gonna take a huge loss in the pocketbook, because of 2K Sports, selling at $20 versus, Madden selling at $50. They felt like, well, why would I spend $50 even if I'm gonna get, if I'm gonna make a choice, not get both? Why would I spend $30 more on Madden? I'll just wait for the price to drop, and I'll just buy 2K football at $19.99. And that's what worried EA. So after Madden 05 and 2K5, duked it out, even though I think Madden still sold better. EA is like, fuck this. We're not dealing with this anymore. So they went to the NFL and bought the exclusive rights. I don't know what they paid. But after the NFL 2K5, Madden 05, Madden 06 and onward, it was just exclusive EA for the NFL license, which is too bad. Because I think 2K football really pushed Madden to become a better game. And I think for a lot of gamers, through Madden 06 through this year's new Madden game, they felt the series really hasn't evolved too much as far as the gameplay goes. I know Madden's added new modes and everything, but the general feeling I get is Madden's kind of gotten stale the last several years because they've really had no one to push them. To be fair to 2K football, they did try to come out with a great game that didn't have the NFL license in 2007 for the PS3 and the 360, and that was All Pro Football 2K8. I really like this because to me this was like my next gen NFL 2K5 game. I mean, I don't think it didn't play quite as good as NFL 2K5 in my opinion, but it was still a really great football game. It was a little bare bones, nothing really great as far as modes, but it's like, this is my 2K football game finally on a next gen console. And even though it just basically had a lot of, they tried to come as close to the NFL game as they could. They signed a lot of former NFL legends. You could play as them, got the rights to that. They came up with their own fake football teams. You could create your own football teams and everything in this game. For what they tried to do with this game, I applaud them. For without an NFL license, this was a great thing for 2K Sports to try. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very big financial success. So we didn't see another All-Pro football game after this one title they came out with. And to this day, I mean, there are some 2K Sports fans that just hate EA or won't touch a Madden game for the life of them. They're still either updating their NFL 2K5 on the Xbox or updating their 2K8 game. Come up with, I mean, there's trailers for it. Just do a search on YouTube for like NFL 2K13 and you'll see a trailer for with the NFL teams that look as close as they could with the create a team that they did in this, and with the names and everything of the current NFL players, and that's great that there's still a really big fan community that just doesn't want to deal with the Madden and 2K and that are still big fans. Which kind of brings me to the title of the video, and that's the 2K football and NCAA 2K coming back. And the reason I say that is because a few years ago, some people sued EA for basically monopolizing, football video games. And a few weeks ago, in late July, that lawsuit was settled. The big thing, though, unfortunately, is Madden was able to keep, or EA was able to keep their exclusive NFL license. But they did have to, after their exclusive deals with the NCAA and Arena Football League expire next year, they can't renew those for 5 years. And that's huge in the fact that I'm hoping beyond hope, may or may not happen, and I would lean towards it probably not, but I would love to see a new college football game from 2K Sports, because it's been so long. It's been 5 years since we've had a football game from 2K Sports, and they've definitely got, a fan following out there. They've got a next-gen engine built, and they would just have to tweak this for a new NCAA game. They did do 2 years of NCAA games back in the early 2000s. They did NCAA 2K2 exclusive on the Dreamcast, and then they did 2K3 on the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox. This is the GameCube version right here. So they've got experience doing college football. They've got their next-gen engine built. They just had to take this and tweak it and make a new college football game, maybe update the graphics a bit since it's been a few years since this one came out. So, like I said, it's hope beyond hope. I don't know if it's going to happen. I would lean towards no, because really all they've done in the last few years is basketball and baseball. They stopped doing their college football games a few years ago. Like I said, they don't do their college basketball games anymore, nor their NHL games, because they just weren't selling as well as EA. So they're basically concentrating on their big breadwinners, which I completely understand. But I would take even a new arena football game from 2K just to see them try something different if they felt like they had the financial ability to do it. Will they? It's hard to say, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed for an NCAA 2K14 or 2K15 once EA's license running out. I would love to see 2K Sports go get the licenses to do an NCAA game, because I think it would sell better than they might think. I do think there is a fan following for a football game outside of EA's grip on sports games in general. So let me know what you think. Would you like to see a new football game from 2K Sports? Could you care less? Are you EA only for life? Let me know. Leave a comment below or anything. Otherwise, you guys take it easy, and I'll see you next time.